2023 is upon us, and we are back ready for this first trading day to get underway and to trade it successfully. Right, we're looking to start the year off on the right foot. What is that? Yeah. So let's go ahead and just take a quick peek. Well, it's only 9:12. But there's not really much change from last week. We can see we've spent most of the time in this kind of lower range. And if we pull up the daily chart, where is my daily chart here? Hey, good morning, Israel. Thanks for joining. Glad to have you. So if we take a peek at the daily chart here, you can kind of see most recently we've just kind of been, after that push down, we've just kind of been hanging out down here at the lows. You can see there's a little bit of excess here. We can take off the extended hours so you can kind of see how it's going here. And you can see the market right now trading up here at 38.86. So we're going to be opening up on a gap today. But let's go ahead and take a peek at the monthly here. I guess we'd have to go, let's go to the SPX. And we can actually zoom out, we'll zoom out to the yearly. Oh, and you can see we did some Fibonacci work this weekend. But basically you can see we just finished inside the previous year's range. We, breached the high and then came all the way back down, 100% retracement of the previous year, and have finished back inside. So you're not really getting much from the yearly. We trade 2 micro, I think, really, most of us here, to get anything from that really zoomed in look. I can go ahead and erase some of these so we can just get a easier line of sight here. And we're looking at the SPX because the rollover, like the ESH, right, the rollover just doesn't look as neat. So we're just going to take a peek here. But this low right here is the COVID low, all-time high, and so we're kind of seeing from the most recent swing low to the most recent swing high. These are kind of the levels that we're seeing, and so this is why I like that fib from that level. And I wanted to see kind of how how things were playing out, right, especially on a bigger picture, as far as like retracement levels and things like that, like this 50 and then the 618. But for the most part, on the monthly, there hasn't been much change here. Let me go ahead and turn on the extended hours. But we haven't really seen much change. We're still kind of in this, like, just kind of balanced lower, right? The market moved off the high, started balancing lower. A lot of times this is what it has to do before it can continue the move. So we'll see what happens if we get this continuation to the downside, or because today's opening up on a gap, if we're going to get some more continuation to the upside. Switching over to the weekly, we are 1 time framing lower, but it seems that we're going to be breaking that. Remember, we had this mark here on the SPX, 36 or 38.68. Ended up breaking it on Friday late in the session, but or on Thursday came through, but Friday we're looking for it to break up above it. Didn't quite get there now, so we'll see today if most likely, 15 minutes, we're gonna plow right through it. Daily, right? Daily's just balancing. Nothing really too much that we can take from this. We did kind of have a little bit of a gap still above, which is up here around this like 39.60, so that could be a test or a look if there is a breakout of this lower balance. That's probably going to be the retracement. That would make sense, right? If sellers want to get another chance, it moves up here. We had talked about that 4,200 level, which is up here, that 23% retracement. There's another gap up there as well. So it would make sense to me, like, let's say the market puts in a low, higher low right here. It does rally up, breaks up this high, we'll probably see some selling from there, and that'll be kind of the make or break point. What I'm kind of thinking. Hey, Happy New Year's! Thank you. What I'm kind of thinking is maybe we do get above this, get a little chop, get back up into this range, so we'll break this long-term downtrend, and then really that 4,200, the back test of this trend will probably be the deciding factor if the market's going to get buyers stepping up, because I mean there's just so much support here, right? And we've looked at this area, you know, support, resistance, support, resistance, resistance, support, resistance. Now it's support again, you know, so there's a lot of interaction in this space, so it would make sense, like if the market comes up, gets up to that 4,200, a longer term seller comes in, pushes back down, they get a retest of this long-term trend from the all-time high. Oops, terrible line. Long-term trend from the all-time high, another terrible line. And that is going to be kind of the area where we can look for sellers or for buyers to try to step up or for them to capitulate, and that would be another push or another leg down lower. Another thing that we want to take a quick peek at, since we've got some time, is we want to look at the economic calendar. So this week, or well, at least today on the calendar, we've got manufacturing PMI coming out 15 minutes after the market opens. May move the market a little bit, but not too much. Tomorrow, 30 minutes after the market opens, we've got manufacturing numbers. Not really anything before, doesn't look like. And we get the FOMC minutes on Wednesday, which is tomorrow, right? Today's Tuesday. Yeah, the week's all thrown off. Yeah, Wednesday, we get the FOMC minutes. And then the JOLTS job openings, so the ISM and then JOLTS job openings. And then on Thursday, we get the unemployment, the non-farm payrolls, and then crude oil inventories. And then on Friday, we've got the unemployment rate, unemployment change. So that could be a big mover. And then again, non-manufacturing ISM PMI numbers Friday. So no real economic data today, not too much at least. And then most of it is going to lead us into the end of the week. And really everything's kind of just leading up till tomorrow, the FOMC minutes, to see if any changes in store, right? People are just looking for any opportunity to buy the market, any opportunity for them to be like, oh, Powell's going to pivot, I must go all in, right? Things like that. So just be careful of that. A lot of trading last week from institutional managers. Looks like they took off some longs, took off some shorts. But when the market went down, they probably took off some shorts. When the market went up, they probably took off some longs. And this is as of the 27th, so this is this day here. So they probably took off their shorts here, and then as the market popped up, they probably took off a couple of longs, but nothing really too crazy as far as that is concerned. Yeah, that's it. How's everyone's holidays? Everyone's New Year's? Morning, Peter. Morning, Patrick. Morning, Roach. Glad to have you guys all back. Happy New Year, man.
and it was 5 days of chaos
Yeah,
here. It was like full on concerts that took over the whole town. It was like, whoa, this is what everybody was talking about.
that's how
So
it is in Jalisco too. In Mexico, it's like that. In like the villages and stuff for like the Christmas, and it actually lasts for like a couple months. You know, those Mexicans, they love to party.
I know we have a Mexican client and we've barely heard from him in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So,
Morning,
but
John.
we didn't know what to expect, and they redid everything, and there was like this big Barranquilla, like other Colombia, like from a bigger singer from Barranquilla that usually fills out like 10,000 stadiums, and in this little town of 1,500 people, he was rocking it. My wife was excited, so it was good here.
That's good to hear.
Yeah.
Oh, I found an indicator. I found an indicator on. I'll just share it right now before I forget. On the internet, and it's free. That measures from the percent change from the open on Thinkorswim. So if any of you guys are interested in it, I'll just post it in the indicators. I've been looking for something like this for a little while. Because most of the, well, actually not most, all of the, what's it called? All the change, percent change is always from the previous day's close. So sometimes it's hard to get a read. That's why we like our weighted AD, but I was trying to find one individually for stocks. I was actually trying to manipulate like the code for this to get it so it's like Apple, Amazon, Google, Microsoft, Tesla, you know, some other like bigger stocks, right? Just like the top. I was just the top 11 stocks, um, just to see how they were doing individually, but it just wasn't gonna work the way that I wanted it to work. But then I found this, and so that's really all I need. It just gives you a difference, like so. I have them side by side. So percent change, and then this one was called the Z cold the day difference. It's someone else created it. I'm not sure. That might have been his name. Um, but it'll tell you the percent change from the open. So it's actually kind of nice because then if you look over here, like these aren't open yet, right? So when these open, it'll tell you, okay, well, total from Friday's close, ES is up 0.64, but today it's up only 0.10. So okay, so it's not as strong as it looks. It's like we open up on a gap, Apple's up 2%, but currently right now from its open, it's down 0.5%. Well, then you know, like, okay, maybe my ES trade longs are not, even though Apple is up, doesn't necessarily mean that Apple is going up, just gapped up. So it's kind of like a deceiving metric, and that's why I just wanted to find this. Glad I did. All right, now we're ready. Live for love. What's up, man? Yeah, had a good Christmas. Took a nice couple weeks off. Right, last 2 weeks of the year, pretty much. I mean, I guess it was like more like a week, but yeah, just could take that time to reflect and refresh. Didn't take very many trades. Probably took maybe one or two trades a day. That's it. Um, like A plus setups. Basically, only just waited for like the perfect trade and then basically just chilled. To be honest. It was pretty nice, I'm not gonna lie. Remember, gap rules are in play today. Um, an interesting look too, like because we ended the day on Friday on a spike as well, so we could even, you could even get a little bit of this. But it's just too much lines on the chart. It fucking makes me mental. So um, just draw the tip of the spike. There we go. And the settle finished up high, and now price is moving up higher from the spike after checking back at half back and getting a poor low. So today with the market, I think one of the keys really is going to be this previous level, and you can kind of see we're into these single prints over here, and then like the base of this distribution is here, so we'll leave that here. But above this previous day's high, this 82.75, I think the market can get a little bit of strength and maybe look to test back up to that 39.15, which happened to be a pretty big level, a level that um a level that I'd been watching actually for a little while now. um it's with a 50% retracement. um I want to say from for the year or something, maybe. Oh, no, it's not. 50% for the year is at like 41.51. Liker, what's up? Let's get it. Less than a minute, guys. Here we go. The market just kind of bouncing around a little flush below the VWAP, but right back up to the VWAP here. Wanting to get back above its open. You can see how we open up with a tick. Tick opens up 13.19. You can see the breath opens up really nice, but immediately you start to see some red in the weighted AD. So it's kind of contraindicating. And a lot of times when this happens, for me, it's just kind of our sign to not take a trade. Right? It's kind of our sign to just hang on a second, let this market figure itself out. We do have some areas where we think that there might be some responsive buying. Let's see if they're going to test that gap. It does look like they are. There might be easy gap fade there. See all the sectors weak here. What's that volume last night? 415. No close of the gap yet. Really tight range to start us off. Almost came right down to our buy zone. All call counts so far. Nice bounce here. Coming right into a little bit of resistance as far as rotation's concerned. But look at the tick. Tick just made a new high. So the tick opened up high and just made a new high. That kind of, I don't know, that's an interesting thing. It kind of is telling us that there's some buying pressure in the market, I think. Um we're probably safe to, maybe move our stop up to 80 here. If they push it back below. So there's the tick finally coming down a little bit. But that was an interesting thing. Like I said, I haven't really seen something like that before. I mean, at least not recently, where the tick opens up high and then trades higher. And to me, that kind of just tells me that the market wants to go up higher. Nasdaq's coming down here a little bit, trying at least. How's the volume on here? It sounds fine. Family time? Yeah, me too, man. That's all I did. Just hung. It was nice.
Volume's good.
Thanks.
It's funny when you asked about volume, my first thought was like, dude, right there, it shows what the volume is on the market. What are you talking about?
So here they go back below that 80 level. This is the VWAP right here, pretty much. 79.80. Let's see, and it's the open as well. Nasdaq's catching a little bit of a bid here. The Dow is struggling heavy here for some reason. Maybe that percentage might be off. Looks like the Dow's down about 0.47 since it's open. Eldora, good morning. Happy New Year. Glad to have you back. Thanks for coming to hang out. This year, I've decided there's going to be some changes coming for the trade vets, as far as how I kind of want to run things. I'd like to push us as a community to be a bit more slower traders, right? I think for the most part, most of us are scalping, and I think that this year, and this is kind of the issue, right? Nothing, and I'm not trying to say there's anything wrong with scalping, right? I think over the past year, what everyone in this community has done is done a great job at understanding one profile, right? At understanding the day type, understanding what's going on right now in the market, right? I think we do a great job at that. We even nailed some highs, we nailed some lows. I mean, we traded well this year. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. We did well as a team. But we could do better, right? Always striving for improvement. And so basically what I'd like to see is this year is we start putting more pieces together, continue building this puzzle of ours and start stringing some of these days together and start putting a little bit less stress on ourselves that we have to get on, we have to make this trade, make that trade, make this trade, make that trade, and then it just becomes like a gigantic pain in the ass. You know what I mean? Like, just, it's a lot. So if we can just alleviate some of that by taking it a little bit slower this year, then I think that will be a good opportunity. And I'm trying to figure out some days where we can just do live class. So while the market's going on, if we don't really have anything too hectic going on, or the market's not really doing much, then we will take that time to switch over to like a slide deck or use the market as opportunities to go through some of the basics, some of the advanced basics, I guess you could say, right? Because the profile is such a complicated mechanism. So there we go, finally above those singles. So the singles are finally closed now. The profile is such in the market itself, but the profile is complicated to learn, right? It takes time to really get it down and kind of harness all of the opportunities that it provides. So now that you've mastered the one profile and you go to add it to the other one, we're like, well, these are the rules for this one. How come when you have two, it doesn't work like that? It just becomes a time of relearning, basically. So like you've read the books, you've maybe learned a good amount of stuff. Nasdaq's breaking up. Nice. We go. All right, we should hit up to this 39.15 as a target still. You can see that 39.15. That's that 50% retracement, and that's from the swing levels on the ES. So it's from this swing high right here to this swing low down here. That's halfway back of that move. And it happens to be the 50 daily moving average. So what are the odds, right? Sometimes shit just lines up. But basically, so when you first read Jim Dalton's book, right? And this is why I say it's always important to read these multiple times. he talks about putting them all together, especially in his second book, Markets and Profile. But oftentimes as a newer trader, you'll glance over it or kind of power through it, or some of that stuff just won't lock into your memory because you're so fixated on what's going on right now, right? But some of these things, and they're going to be different for everybody. Other people are going to have certain things that are going to get them into trades, or certain things that they're going to check before the profile, or before the daily trade, right? Even though for the most part I feel like everything is right here on our screen that we need, there's a couple other correlation things, like we want to see the Dow, we want to see the NASDAQ, maybe some order flow. You know, there's a couple other things. You know, like Peter Reznicek always says, the number one thing to do with trading profits is buy more screens. You can never have enough screen space. That's like something he's always saying, because he's not a fan of clicking back and forth. He wants to kind of see all of his stuff, which, you know, I definitely understand that. But I think as a community, we start to get back into that, or maybe some of you haven't even given it a second glance, or maybe some of you haven't even picked it up and read it. And so my plan this year is to, you know, update the website, get a nice glossary going on the website, maybe a couple of videos on the website, but then to basically build from the ground up in, you know, consecutive classes as we go on. Yeah, I'd love that, Pop. I'd love that. And you know what? I truly enjoyed having it in the Discord. I know I didn't talk the past couple of weeks, not much. But I had the volume on and I could hear all you guys talking. I was just like a fly on the wall, just kind of listening. And for me, a little bit of pull down here. They'll fail to get up, hits that 3,900, and then just kind of liquidates back. Watch the 80. If it gets back below the open, this thing's gonna go lower. We don't want to see that. You're looking at that tick getting back to close to zero now too. That's a pretty quick move down. If they get back below the open, you might be able to look to close the gap here. Back down to 70. Your stop on 87.5. So you'd be using like a 6-point stop, looking for like a 10-point, 11-point gain. That's pretty close.
You know, Brad, when you put that trade write up from like a week or two ago, I thought that was helpful because like one of my goals is to treat it more like a business, you know, be more business like this year. It's been like, okay, this has been education time. So it's good to see how you wrote something up like that and just take it a little bit more seriously instead of I don't know, just that was something that's been on my list. Be a little more exact and always professional with it.
Yeah, and that's a big thing too. Like, you know, if you really get into that mindset of treating your trading like a business, which is a little bit easier for you, Peter, because you run a business, so you know the ins and outs. But if you treat it like a business, and you really just got to think about it like this. Think about if you owned a business. Think about your job that you have now. But if you were the owner, would the employees that you have, like think about some of your coworkers, if you were the owner, would they still be employees? Right? And so you've got to think about that in your trading business, but you're the owner and the employee. So if you're making mistakes, and listen, losing a trade is not a mistake, right? It's gonna happen. It happens to everybody. Some of the best traders that I know, win percentage is 50 to 70%. Okay? So not 99%. One of the most profitable traders that I know, his win percentage last year was 51%. He just happened to have a lot of big winners compared to his losers, right? So, and that's just how it works out, right? But if you're trading your own business and you're making simple mistakes, like you traded the ES instead of the MES, or you clicked 2 contracts instead of 3 contracts, right? Those are things that if you were employing somebody and they added, 2 zeros instead of 3 zeros on, some billing form that they were supposed to do, it's going to fuck all your shit up and you're going to fire them. You know what I mean? And so you got to think about that yourself. You could take some profit right here. If you took the short at the open, take some off right here, and then probably move your stop to the 80. So you're in profit by 1 point here, just in case we don't get that gap fill. I think we're going to get it though, but I don't know. It just kind of died right there, like on a tap. So, but it does. I don't know. It looks like it wants to close that gap. 68.75 is that gap fill. But you got to think about that, and I think that's a great thing, Peter. Like, you want to run it more like a business, because there's certain things like when you with your business, and you're like, oh, I'm not going to do that. That's stupid. Well, there's the same ideas in your trading. And that's what was so interesting about that book I was reading yesterday. Is it said, there's 3 types of traders. Coming from the guy's perspective, he said there's 3 types of traders that I've encountered. There we go. So now we're getting into the previous day's spike. Let's see if we see some buyers stepping up or some short covering here. I'm flat completely. I closed it. I closed I only had 1 lot left, and I closed it right at 68.75. I'm not sitting through it. Like I said today, I honestly didn't even know if I was going to take a trade in A period, but we kind of got that look below the open, then we popped the open, so it got long, and then that fail up there, so pop down short. Pretty easy trade there from the open back down to the gap fill. But fuck, now I lost my train of thought. What was I saying? Oh, no, I can't remember. Fucked. Play it back. But yeah, I'm glad that sheet works, and it's all. I mean, it has everything that we need, and like, so for me, like, I have it on my iPad, right? And so like I just have it. You just like pull up, and then it like duplicates a blank one, and so I just have them like in there, and it lets you go back and see like, okay, I took this trade here, and it gives you an opportunity to be objective at the end of the day, because that's normally when I look at all of those is back again at the end of the day, and I say like, oh, okay, like I'm looking at the 30-minute chart, and I took this trade at this time, like what am I thinking? Or okay, that was a good time, but I could have got a better entry if I would have been more patient, things like that, right? Like certain things like that, to always kind of come into. A big thing for me this year is I'm going to start day trading stocks, I think. Or maybe like swing trading, maybe for like a week. And so I'm adding like a little bit more volume analysis, because volume is pretty important. I mean, we know volume is important, right? But volume tends to be a lot more important in equities, individual equities. They're still holding the 80 here. Our weighted AD has flipped negative. Our tick is still hanging out above 0. We're still not getting any confirmation yet. Tech is down, healthcare is down, financials are basically flat, consumer discretionary. The VIX actually popped up today. 23 was the high.
Apple's falling apart right now.
Oh yeah, it is. Holy shit. That's another thing I was looking at. So check this out here. Let me just make this full screen real quick. The market's coming back down into range here too, but there's Apple. So take a peek at Apple. I was looking at a lot of these. Let's make it a little bit more time. But you look at Apple. I went through and added Fibonacci's on everything this weekend. I was on a Fibonacci learning spree this weekend, just so you guys know. I just never really researched them, and then that's just how I am. I just get into shit and start researching. But anyway, so like, look at Apple. Apple closed like shit. Like, here's the high, closed like shit. Like the ES closed like up here somewhere, right? AMD, same thing. Closed like shit. Closed on the lows. It closed a little bit off the lows, but not as bad as Apple. Amazon looks like absolute bag of shit. Google, a little bit better, but still not great. Meta, probably the strongest of the bunch besides Microsoft, right? Microsoft is actually not looking bad. Netflix, right? Netflix looks decent, but like you zoom out and you're like, oh, whoops. But Netflix did catch a bounce off the low, right? Still coming up into resistance. Big ranges on Netflix. Nvidia still similar, and then do I have Tesla on this list? Oh, yeah, there it is. And then Tesla, right? Tesla's getting a smackarooski today as well, but Tesla also just finished the year on the low. So basically, like what I'm seeing to me, and this was kind of noticing this weekend, is like a lot of these big name stocks finished down. And so that's kind of what I'm thinking. I'm thinking like, you know, maybe there's some buyers here early in the year, especially we've got the Fed minutes, right? So we'll see what happens then. We're back into balance. We get accepted back into balance here. Decent odds that we rotate back to the low balance. We'll see what happens. But if we do get a little bit of a bounce, right? Everyone wants to come in and be buyers and all this, and we've hopped with that 4,200. There could be an opportunity for another leg down, and I honestly think the possibility of getting another leg down and that next leg down could honestly be like I mean, I want to say like 3272, maybe even like 3,300, 3,400. I know it's only 400 points lower than we are now, but that's still some pain in the market as far as like the rest of the market is concerned. And my biggest factor, now we have a full roundabout kind of thought here. My biggest factor, and what Peter said reminded me, was because Apple has this gap, and it's a fairly large gap. And we can go ahead and I'm not doing any stock trading just yet anyways, because I'm going to build myself into it. But you can kind of see, like, let's look at the monthly. It's a little bit easier to see. So on Apple, right? Apple, shoots up. But anyways, so this is 2020, okay? August 2020. COVID 2020 is right here. So here's the COVID low right here. We pop up, build some structure, pop back up, and then we're popping back down back to structure. So what would make sense to me is a push back down into this gap. Now, will there be big buyers there at Apple 100? Oh, I'm sure. And that's right at trend. And that's probably as low as I think Apple's going to go. But if we trace it down to 100, and it could go a little bit lower, but that's still about another 20% lower. So if we were to go back to the ES and just see what 20% lower on the ES would be, it would put us right at like 3,000 basically. So, I mean, It's tough to tell, right? Nobody knows for sure, but definitely something we want to be paying attention to. It looked like we had some buyers inside this previous spike. They got stuck, liquidated, and now they're trapped above. So there's some longs trapped probably here. And this is where they liquidated at. So look for the market to get back up to here and the offer to come in. That's another thing too, is like, I'm going to put together, I think we have a glossary, but I'm going to have to update it for, make it more like beginner friendly. I don't know. I'm so torn with like making, or like leading like a, this is what bullish is, this is what bearish is. But then also like I've always said, like I don't want to waterboard anybody. You know what I mean? Because the information is going to stick, I think, a lot better if you go out there and, you know, learn it. Weighted AD is getting pretty negative here. We get a new bar in 2 minutes. One thing to notice here is the volume that's coming in is very light as we get lower. And I'm not saying this is the low yet, but if we don't, if like when the market's trading directionally, if it doesn't get continued volume, we know that the market auctions lower to shut off selling. So if we move down and buyers and sellers are both trading, moves lower, buyers and sellers are both trading, moves lower, only some sellers are trading. Move even lower, no traders, the market's going to move back up. B period opens up. There's this little baby bounce because, like we said, no sellers are showing up down here. And we're looking for this weak spot up here where the blue is at. I guess we could look at it as a red now. The color honestly doesn't really matter. But, you know, for a reoffer. And what reoffer means, for those of you guys who don't understand reoffer, so imagine if you're offering me my TV at 70, okay? You sell me my TV at 70, I buy it at 70, it goes back down. You sold it to me at 70, it gets down to 56, and you, hey, I'll buy that TV back from you. I'm so scared because, you know, this thing is ruined, so I buy it back. And then what do? I just walk back up to 70, sit on 70, and say, I'm going to sell. All right, and it's not, this is hypothetical, but this is where we're looking for like a re-offer. And the easiest way to see this is, you know, you see where this thin volume's at, right? Seller came in right here, so maybe re-offer there. But this is the opportunity here, and then this is where the inventory is trapped. So inventory get trapped here, liquidated, more came in. Now we're seeing some volume come in off the low, so some buyers are stepping up. You're getting some tapering here. Right, tick is switched back over up to the highs. Weighted ADs coming back up. Today's just a day where, I mean, pretty big range, 02 to 50, so 50-point range to start the day. Today's just one of those days where, you know, you really just have to wait for your setups, wait for your zones. You know, like for here, this area right here is not really an area that I like to participate in. Not that there's anything wrong with it, it's just, you know, I'd like to see either an offer come in here to get short, right, and, you know, hold below I'd like to see it, I'd like to get short here, and I'd like to get it back inside this previous day's range right away. Or down here at that previous point of control in the half back, I'd like to look for some opportunity for sellers to just kind of give up. The breadth is still positive. Yeah, the sectors are red, but we're not seeing any real tempo. You're not even seeing any real negative ticks, to be honest. That big, I mean, that was mostly just a liquidation, it seemed like to me. So we'll kind of see. If we get up here and there's no offer and we start to hold it as support, then we'll look to buy it. I took a long off there this morning and it worked. So we'll just kind of, keep forming our zones and being patient. Counts are 4 and 12. A lot of volume coming in previous day's settle. Happy New Year. Apple's still looking like shit. Apple's level down is 125.14. And then below that, 121.15 is a gap below. There's not much we can do here, guys. Like, that's the thing, is like one thing I've really focused on over these past 2 weeks is not just fluffing just a fluff. You know, I'd love to have like an exciting channel where every time we're always in a trade and we're just fucking nailing everything all the time, but I want to take the market slow this year. And I'm not saying you can't scalp. I'm just saying I'm not gonna be filling in like, you know, tick for tick this year. I think that is something that causes me to overtrade as well. But I also feel like it causes you guys to overtrade also. And that's not something that I really, you know, I'm not really into that. So notice here that the market's tapering, right? We're below that point of control now, though. So failure to get up above this point of control and hold. So if the market pops this and doesn't hold this point of control again, assume that this low is going to get taken out. Your key here is going to be the tick. We've already got the weighted AD going down. Like, every sector has flipped to red. The breath has come off of it quite a bit. What did we get the breath open at the beginning? It was 2.85 and 3.86. I posted it in the futures Discord in case you guys are ever wondering what it looks like at the open. I'm gonna start doing that every day. Give us our starting point. Easy reference back period. And then, you know, pretty much everything is telling us here that downside is the right side, except we're just not having the tick agree with us yet. So we're getting lower prices, just sellers aren't ready yet to move down. We did catch a nice short from the open, closed it early, obviously. And now we're starting to see, oh, there goes the low. They weren't able to get back above that point of control. So now they fixed the poor low. Now we have excess. Or you need excess for an auction really to be over. Ticks coming lower here. Short covering right there. Well, now we have our first trap. Seller here at 53. So we finally got it a little bit too aggressive of a seller. 50, this down here at 53, people tried to get too aggressive. Shorts started to cover. Market took a little bit of a bounce there. Watch us see how it acts when it's retested. Build 10 contracts on the low. Dow is not as weak as the rest here. Peter thinks 24, 25. 50 points lower. Peter's a genius, so. What is it? I have a little more bullet floating here, but that low does not look that secure. Yeah, John, so the thing is, on days like today, right? Where you have a bullish lean, especially because, you know, the market opened up, popped up, and kind of got us all excited. Ooh, we're going to go up to 39.15, right? That's kind of how I was feeling. And then once it failed, I was like, well, I guess we're going to get short below the open, right? So it's completely changed over because everything else said to change over. So like right now, right? Like I have this green zone here because this is an area where I was looking to get long if the market started to die out, right? But because of how negative the market has gotten, for me, this is just not an area that I could buy on a first test. So I still like this area for rotations, but it's not really an area that is like one of those areas like, oh, like I'm buying a pullback into this area, because we could easily just flush right through this area. And so on days like that where you're leaning a little bit more bullish, you need to have things in place to help draw you back to reality, right? Because that's obviously not the good look here. The bullish lean is obviously not where you wanted to be, right? We just talked about how all of our signals besides the tick we're saying to sell. Now our tick is even saying to sell. So now you've got to be thinking inside your head, okay, where's the next spot that you possibly could see buyers? Right here at the point of control, but not as strong of an area anymore just because of how we've come down and the rest of the market just looks like shit. So we turn our area gray, right? And we know at the low of the profiles, right, the low of balance, we have opportunities for people to be responsive longs in this lower area of balance, which is kind of what we saw last week, right? Responsive, 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 seeing responsive, and now we're, you know, responsive above the previous day's range. So if we get C period here, another 15 minutes opens up underneath of this point of control, that puts the good odds down to this 28-30 level. And, you know, then we can start, you know, if you really are looking for that long, you're going to have to be waiting here. And let's say, you know, I don't care, I'm not shorting, I don't trust this thing, I only want to get long, and you can't sit at your computer and just watch and let it happen. That's where you use that alert. Put the alert on for that area that you want to see the market at, and then when you come back, don't just come back and get in a trade, come back and look at everything else. Look at your weighted AD, look at your tick, look at your sectors, look at the dollar, look at the VIX. Like what's the rest of the market telling us that it wants to do? Right? Well, if we take a peek, the dollar is coming back up. Nasdaq's getting crushed, Apple's getting crushed, the Dow's kind of holding. The VIX has actually popped up two handles. The tick is just kind of basically just sitting at 0 all day. There's no conviction on either side. Right? I mean, like, ugh. They'll probably bounce right out of my zone to the high. Fucking piece of shit. But I mean, you know what I mean, John? Like, I'm not trying to take you off of anything. I'm just trying to help you maintain a perspective. Whereas, like, okay, I think it's going to bounce from here. I don't take a trade. It does bounce. Well, you know, that kind of shit happens. And those are the things that go into your journal, not just the trades, but the things that you see. And then those are how you develop your key indicators. And I don't mean like indicators like a moving average. I mean like an indicator that tells your brain, can I take a trade or can I not take a trade? You just wonder, can the market do it without tech? That's what I wonder. That's what I'm thinking. Like, is there enough extra to go around it? Tempo's getting pretty slow here. There's a bid on the. There it goes. Never mind. It's gone. Classic. See, and that's why we abandoned that long. You know what I mean? Like it just, we might get an opportunity to get along out of this zone, and I do like this zone to take a trade from. And this is normally what these zones mean is I'm looking, they're like my trade zones basically. The color necessarily is not important. So if you see one green, that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm gonna buy it. It's just that's how I'm kind of labeling it. And basically what I'm trying to do for us as a team here, throughout the day, typically like 80% or 75% or some high percentage of days in the market are balanced, right? For the most part, right? Trending days are a low percentile of days. And so if we can take our zones here, like our red zone, our gray zone being the middle of the zones, and then find a green zone at the bottom where we can place responsive longs and responsive shorts, on a balanced day, we can trade with big money. On a trend day, right, it's going to be a little bit harder to identify zones because it really just matters on when people emotions get them into the trade, because trend days are emotional days. But on balanced days, if we can identify these zones within the first couple hours, then we can set some alerts and then, go clean the house or, work out or do what we need to do until the trade pops up or the alert goes off, and then be like, oh, okay, here we go. And that'll help everybody, I think, stay a little bit more patient. And if I'm not sitting here scalping futures all day, I'll have an opportunity to trade some stocks because there's a lot of opportunities out there. Sometimes there's just not as much opportunity in the futures. I'll be back. I'm going to take a break. All right. So, moment of truth. Who took a long down there on that B? Well, fucking names.
I well, I had a long earlier than that based on anyway. Yeah. Well,
I took two longs down there and got stopped out on both.
Fucking animals. So, hey, novice trader, happy New Year. So, the the thing here is like, it did look like it wanted to pop, right? The tick popped up, and it's like, oh, it's going, but you've got to notice here, like, look how high the tick is getting, right? Got 658, which, you know, a lot of times we look for that 600 level to be a sign of strength. That's what I like to look for, that 600. But where did we go? Right?
nowhere.
It went nowhere, right? So if this many people are trying to buy, but everything else in the market is telling us that it's looking like a bag of shit, then that's the dollar right there. Then we've got to go with the market, guys. As much as our instinct, and eventually our instinct is going to be right. Like, especially like Friday, right? I mean, I didn't even watch the market on Friday, to be honest. I watched it on the replay, but it did nothing, and then it sold, and then shot straight up right at the end, right? And so all of these people here that were buying got stopped out, and then they were right. And so we've got to make sure that we're doing what we can to prevent that. And that's where your checklist comes in, right? Okay, so our checklist is telling us pretty much everything is zero, right? We did get an open above the previous day's open. That's bullish. We are building value higher, but currently we're building value lower, right? So like total overall, like throughout the day, value's higher, right? Not by much, because value low is right there. But we've got two TPOs here, two TPOs here. So we're building value lower intraday. So everything is telling us negative. So when we see this tick get up here and the market doesn't go anywhere, short that. And short it back to zero. Short the market. And then when the tick gets to zero, no matter where it's at, if it's one tick up or if it's above you, right? Like let's say you got in here, tick got down to zero. If it was at 44 or 34, you close it out, right? And see what it does. Because you know that today, for the most part, this tick, after it moved off the high, has basically just been stuck in a box around zero. Goes down, comes back to zero. Goes up, comes back to zero. So basically just holds on to zero all day. So you're able to look for that scalp, right? That's how you get in at these lows, right? Because you don't want to sell the low. I understand that. That's human nature, right? We don't want to sell the low because we're like, we were thinking about buying here, we didn't, right? Well, we were thinking about buying here actually because it's where that zone was green. But a lot of people thought about buying here, I guess, and they were wrong, and they did, and they were wrong, and then they got liquidated, right? But we thought about buying here early, and then we canceled it when we turned it gray because we're like, you know what, it's not ready yet. And so when we're having this, like, you know, it's just basically just like pure weakness. You've got to just like your brain kind of like, well, it's going to bounce then, so we must need to buy it, right? But instead of that, remind yourself of what's actually going on, like the whole picture for the day. Value is shifting lower, tick is weak, weighted AD, everything's red, market's in a downtrend, way below the VWAP, right? We opened up on a gap and we closed the gap, so obviously buyers aren't that strong, right? There's so many things showing us the downside. And we could bounce from here, but the thing is like, okay, so if we had a long bias, these people had a long bias, they got stopped out. Maybe they're having a short bias now and they're getting trapped short. But that's how we're able to get into a short if, you know, if we miss the initial move. If that makes sense. Like you see a tick, it fails. There's your opportunity. When it gets to zero, watch to see how it acts. If it doesn't get a bounce and just trades through, then you're probably okay to hold. If not, just flatten the position and be happy that you just got in. Try to catch that runner. But the market really is kind of lacking conviction today for the most part. Mechanical selling off the C open here. There's also the C high, so good odds it doesn't hold.
Yeah, I probably shouldn't have been getting long down there. And my bigger mistake was I didn't take profit. I was green in both trades, and usually I take them, and I'm like, oh, this thing's gonna bounce like a fucker, you know. And I didn't take them, and I didn't even move stop to break even. I took stop out, so now I'm done for it. I quit for the day because I made mistakes, so I got to go and sim. But yeah, I shouldn't have been. Just stupid.
Hey, but going to the sim after something like that is something that not a lot of people have. Most people are like, well, guess I'll be trading 2 lots now. Like, you know, they're like double the leverage.
Yeah,
Gotta make up for that loss. Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, and to be honest, I don't always stick to it, but I've been sticking to it. I have a rule where not for how many losses I take. Just if I make a stupid mistake, like I did, like I should at least put stop to break even. But I was looking for bigger gains, so that's a mistake on my part, or whatever you want. I don't really call it, but lack of discipline. So I have to quit. Yeah, agree. Whatever. I have to quit.
Something.
And honestly, I don't always. It's hard to stick to that because I have nobody here telling me you have to, you know. But
It's
I've been pretty good with that. So
that's the thing that's so tough about trading on your own at home compared to in a group, or I mean even in a group it's a little bit different, but like trading on a desk where like if you're just making a mistake, your risk manager is going to come up to you and be like, hey, you're fired.
I don't know what the hell you were thinking,
like,
but
well, no, I mean, like your boss will just close your position for you. You won't even like, no, my stop. I'm just gonna move it a little bit lower. Then all of a sudden, your position closes on your computer, and you're like, what the fuck? And then Paige, Brad, can you please come see me in my office? You're like, oh,
yeah.
shit. Like, fuck. Like, Dave, I thought you were gone today. I thought you took the week off. Like, yeah. What are you doing?
yeah, if you're on a prop desk,
Yeah.
they electric shock.
That's what I think I'm gonna go. I'm gonna try to go meet Mark Bellafiore this year because he doesn't live very far from me. And now I'm finally like settled. I had so much shit going on the past couple years, like getting out of the army, moving, sick as fuck for a while. But now like I'm fucking back on my health is back. Well, we'll see. I just had like some tests that said that I might have late adult onset diabetes.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Shit. They say though you could probably fix it with diet. I mean, I don't know what you have.
It's like well, it's because so I have hypothyroidism, so like I take medication already for my thyroid. Because like my thyroid just doesn't work. So like I'm naturally a little bit like it's naturally I guess maybe a little bit harder for me to lose weight because hypothyroidism is supposed to like make you slower or something, I don't know. But the thyroid, because it controls so many things, they think that my thyroid is messing with my pancreas and that's what's going to cause it. And since because my son has diabetes, they tested me for an antibody, and so the antibody says that I have higher odds to get diabetes as an adult, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, if I stick to, like, if I just keep eating the way that I'm eating, I'll be fine. Does Grandpa Haven have diabetes?
Yep. Yes, he does.
Tell him that then, because I told him I don't know. I told him I didn't know anybody. I didn't know he did. They were asking me like everybody that has issues. I was like, issues? I was like, how much time do you got? My dad? Fucking. Let me tell you.
Yeah, when the shit's hereditary, it's tough because sometimes it don't matter what. Like my father had the gout all the time, and I just start getting it now a little bit,
Ugh.
and I look it up, and it's all if you're a fat pig, if you drink beer. I don't do none of that shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like I barely. Now I eat a lot. All I eat is red meat, but I don't believe that causes it. They say it does. I don't believe it. But
Yeah, I don't believe that either.
no, I don't believe that because I've been eating more red meat since I got it and getting better actually. You know, so but I don't know what if you were boozing all the time and you're way overweight, yeah, but I don't have any of that. So I don't know what the fuck. There's nothing when it's hereditary. It's just a tough. Even my father was in great shape. He used to get it. Just get it. I guess I don't
Yeah, that's like one of the Haven things is anger.
know.
Like
yeah, we have that too.
Like we're some angry motherfuckers. Like I swear to God. I mean, I'm not anymore. I worked on
Anymore.
myself.
That's the key factor.
Yeah.
Because I was the same way. When I was young, I was a pissed off motherfucker.
Yeah, and it was just like it was just like everyone in the Haven clan is like super chill, but they all have like a fucking 1 second fuse. Like they could go from just chilling to whoops to it's just so fast, and it's so funny because like I've been relaxed since I've had my son, right? So like he hasn't really seen me get angry. Like I mean a couple times at like one time at a softball game I got into this guy's face and gave him a little slapping. But other than that, he was just kind of a fucking idiot, and he put his hands on me, so I just gave him a little slap in the face, and then he really just backed off after that. But like you'll see him like he like playing his game or something, or like playing against his sister, and he's just like, oh, you just see the anger like flow through him, and you're like, damn, bro, it's just a little game, who cares?
Yeah, my kid gets like that too. They get so mad, like he doesn't know what to do.
I just remember it. I remember being like that. And like my son's the same way. Like he gets so mad that he'll cry. Like not cry, but like his eyes will water.
Yeah.
And I can remember like playing basketball against my dad as a kid and him just like whooping my ass and like me just getting so pissed that I just practiced like all goddamn day. And this guy just walks in the door from work and just fucking puts a beating on me. I'm like, what the fuck is going on?
Oh.
So my dad had a temper like longer than I did.
Your dad did not have a temper. All he had was a fucking hurricane. That was it. It was like, I'm talking to you, I'm shaking your hand, and I'm going apeshit crazy. That's it. Those are the two levels.
Yeah, he could get mad with the best of them.
Sounds like my father. He was as not mean, but as bad as his temper was. The opposite was just as bad. Like he was just as I guess giving or just as friendly and nice guy as he was vicious when it went the other way. There was no in between.
Yeah.
Like he'd give you I seen him give the last dollar in his pocket to people, but then if somebody pissed him off, he'd kill you. So
as your dad's gotten older, though, he's become significantly more mellow. He doesn't do that anymore.
Yeah,
when we were little. When we were little, he was like that.
When he was a young
you
adult,
would never know it.
Yeah. I mean, There's a lot about my dad you would never know, bro. Like, especially like people that meet him, they would never think about it. Because my dad is like, he's so personable. Like he's always my dad's like that type of person. Like he's like my son. My son's the same way. Like where you go somewhere, like that he's been before, he knows everybody. You know, and he's like friends with everybody knows him. Oh, there's Lincoln. Hey, like you go somewhere, like yeah, I'm looking for my dad, Lincoln. Like oh yeah, come here. Like they know right where he's at, like because they know who he is. That's how Curtis is too, dude. My son, I swear to God, went to the mall, and he's like, oh hey, it's like he's a fucking celebrity. He's seen like all these people he knows. I'm like, dude, what the fuck?
I got a perfect story for my father real quickly. I was only I don't know how old. You barely can remember that old, you know. And he picks up a hitchhike. So, and I can remember being creeped out, you know. I was so young, and I was in the back. So we're driving for I don't know how long. Next thing you know, my father pulls over, gets out of the car, runs around the other side, drags the guy out of the car. You know, whatever he did to him out, leaves him laying on the side of the road. Like, in other words, he was giving the guy a ride being nice, and the guy must have been an asshole. No, I was so young, I really don't know what they were saying. But the guy was a troublemaker, so he pulls over, drugs him out, beats him up, and leaves him there. Funny.
Yeah, see, I'm not really like I don't really get like that anger anymore. Like I think the last time was probably the only time that my kids seen me be angry was at that softball game. Like like that, I guess, like aggressive towards somebody else. You know, like when you're working, and you fucking hit your knuckle on something, you're like, son of a bitch, you know, like that's just like natural. But
yeah,
the softball thing, I was playing catcher because I didn't go to softball practice and they were all pissy with me, so I had to play catcher. And this guy's around on the bases, they throw it into me. I catch it, but the guy running into home just shoulders me and like on purpose. We're playing softball. I'm not saying on the back, but he does it on purpose. So I popped up and I'm like, hey buddy, what's your fucking problem? And he's like, you were on the bag. I'm like, I was on the bag. And he sticks his hand out and like puts his hand on my chest and he goes, hey, relax. And so I just like, as I slapped him across the face, I just slapped his hand down at the same time. And I was like, don't fucking touch me. And he just walked back, dugout. And then of course, like my kids are literally sitting like right behind me. My wife's like, that's not how you solve problems.
That's like a reaction. That's more of a reaction. You didn't even think about it. You just do it.
No, yeah. As soon as it was really fast.
Yeah, you defend yourself. Boom.
Yeah. I'm not used to smacking a hand down right in front of me, so I think it just kind of came as a little hook slap. And I'm like pretty trained in slap. Like I've slapped a lot of people because in the Army we do pancration. We don't use the for day 2, I guess, of the tournaments we do pancration.
They say some guys say it's better to use open hand because you don't break your. You know, if you get in a fight, you break your hand, you're fucked. If you slap somebody around or use the palm of your hand, it's not as risky, I guess. I don't know.
Well, like, yeah, if you're a worker, you know, like if like let's say you're like a mechanic or something like that, like even like a coder, break your fucking hand, you can't hurt. So if you have to do physical combat, the thing is like those guys, like the MMA guys and stuff, like that's their job. So if they break a hand, like they're just resting off or whatever, exercise bike or something. But yeah, most of the time, like if you're in a street fight, I'd recommend open hand. I mean, really, a street fight, you just gain control, then hold them on the ground, and then that's when you start using the open hand because that's belittling. Like get them in the mouth, be like, oh my god, you're such a fucking fool. You shouldn't have started this street fight when you don't know shit about fighting, and then you're just like, give them a little.
Especially them guys like you, like that jiu-jitsu shit and everything. That's good if you know. I didn't. That stuff wasn't real popular when I was coming up.
Yeah.
Well, or else I probably would have got involved with it. But like now, geez, like me and your father's era and your brother there or your uncle, you get in a fight, you get your feet knocked, you get busted up a little bit, no biggie. But now you get in a fight with the wrong guy, he'll rip your arms out. the fuck? I don't want over a parking spot. I don't want my shoulders ripped out of the socket. You know what I mean?
Yeah, your arm broken. Yeah.
I'd rather you punch me in the face than twist me and fucking fuck my joints up. Especially now I'm old.
I never got into like I like jujitsu and I was big into jujitsu, but I was never big into like the grappling part of jujitsu. I was always big into like the dominant body positioning of jujitsu. Like I like jujitsu because of the exercise, to be honest, and because I mean like you're getting exercise and you're learning how to physically dominate somebody, which used to be very important and is a lot less important these days, but may one time may become more important eventually one day. But like if you can just learn how to get in a dominant body position, then you can just hold them down and start slapping them around.
Oh yeah, I've seen shit guys do stuff that and I've seen them do stuff that I would normally say no fucking way could you do that or this, and I see it done, and it's like it's pretty, even like just kicking a guy in the head. Normally I'd say you'd never hit me with it, never. But I watch shit and I see these guys are really. It must be possible,
Yeah.
Normally I'd say no fucking way, you can't hit me.
We used to get it all the time, like when I was teaching combatives for the Army. All these guys would come to us, like pre-deployment training, so they had to come to us. All of them did, and get these like cock strong motherfuckers that are like, oh, yeah, I don't need any training, and you're like, all right, and then they go against me, 5'8", like 170 pounds. They're like, 6'4", 230. And I'm just like, holding them down on the ground, and they're just like trying to move, and just nothing's working. And it's like, well, see, maybe a little bit of training, and if you get in this situation in Afghanistan, you'll survive.
Yeah, it's a good thing to learn.
Oh yeah, because not many people know how to fight off their back, and nope. And the thing is, like, I'm not a big advocate. Like, a lot of people are like, oh, I'm gonna pull guard, but I'm like an advocate for like if you fall on your back, like how to get off of your back. Because a lot of those big muscle bound guys, like once they get on their back, that's it. They don't know anything.
Yeah. I think one of the best things these guys learn to do for street fighting anyway is kicking guys in the leg. Like, how they kick you in the knee, like above the thigh there, right? Man, you get in a fight with a guy in the street, you start kicking your leg, you're fucked.
Yeah.
You ain't getting close to him, and you ain't gonna be able to walk in a couple of seconds. Better off just running.
Well, then you got the next echelon of guys out there. The next echelon of guys is like, oh, well, I'll just shoot him. Like, oh, you have a pistol? Like, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well. Like, when's the last time you took it to the range? Like, like, that's what I fucking thought, dipshit. Like, you think that you're just going to whoop this guy who trains jiu-jitsu, probably does train pistol training, because a lot of them do, and you, who owns a pistol but never shoots it and doesn't do any physical training, you're just going to whoop this guy's ass? Like, give me a fucking break. All right, John, have a good day, man.
Not only that, you don't want to be shooting people. I mean, if you're defending your life, family, yes, but if you're just in an argument, you don't want to be shooting.
Yeah, not unless you want to go to jail forever.
Ruin your life, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I keep reading in Florida that there's all these cases on the defend your, stand your ground law now. And it's all in the courts. It's these people that, become cowboys now that want to shoot people in every argument. And they're sitting there worried about their life now because they got in a fight, had to shoot somebody instead of just walking away because they had that new law down here or down in Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Texas is like that too. Stand your ground state.
Yep.
Yeah, Florida. That's one of the reasons I don't want to live there anymore. It feels like I was on vacation with a bunch of people like, oh yeah, we all have guns in the house. And same thing you said, Brad's like, when's the last time you guys went and practiced? And they all looked like a bunch of it's like, yeah, I really want you guys defending us when things happen,
Yeah, that's why I love Tim Kennedy. Yeah, I mean, he's special forces. Like the guy's trained, like he's a straight killer, but like he just advocates that everyone should have weapons safety. Like everyone, he's a big believer in weapons, but he's a big believer in trained, like you should have a weapon and be trained with it, or you shouldn't have it. That's how he is. And so like he's because there's always the debate like we need to get rid of guns, or people are always trying to ban guns, even though we just let the fucking the Lord of War go. Damn, that was a nice pullback into that zone there. We might get continuation here. Trying to see if this tick's gonna go. I mean, just looks so weak. Yeah, better than just not diddle in the middle, I guess.
I've been waiting for a pullback to short this thing, and this tick is scaring me away from everything, which has been good.
Yeah. Yeah, I think.
But no, I think it's crazy. Like, I mean, you want to have guns, whatever. I don't have them in my house, but it's like, if you don't know what you're doing, like, it's kind of a pretty stupid thing, if you don't know what you're doing with them, like,
Yeah,
come on.
exactly. Like, you're not going to go buy an espresso machine if you don't know how to use it. It's just going to sit there.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, but people get them because they can, That's America for you.
That's how I felt when I was in Florida last time. It was like they were all talking about it. And it's like, I know you idiots. I've seen all you do stupid shit. I'm not going, I don't trust you to defend me with a gun, but it is what it is.
Well, hopefully you never join the army, because then you're really going to be scared.
Oh, me? I'm hiding.
Some of the people in the army, I swear to God, bro, you're just like, what the fuck? But goddamn, they're good at being infantry. It's like, thank God these boots are fucking zip up, huh? No, I'm just kidding, they're not, but
I do want to give my son some self-defense classes this year. I'm worried as he gets older, his soccer gets a little more violent. I'm just expecting one time for him to get in a full-on fight in the middle of the field. He plays too much. He plays the central defense. It's going to happen.
You know what you should put him in is judo.
Judo, okay.
Because judo is always starts standing, and it's all like body positioning. And so like really good judo people, like, they just like one arm and one hip, and they're just putting you on your fucking back. And so if he learned that, like, he could just use a shoulder and a hip as he's playing defense, like, fucking put something down.
He plays physical, and I mean, I can't believe he hasn't been thrown out of a game yet, but he's gotten other kids thrown out of a game because he's pissed them off so much. So I'm expecting that to turn into fists one day.
Yeah, so as long as he can be ready to just defend himself, that's a good idea.
He just loves to start talking shit in English, and they start getting so pissed because they don't know what he's saying.
That's awesome. Because I know the feeling. When I was in Korea, they would talk shit to us in Korean, and I had no idea, and that shit would piss me off. So that's hilarious.
Yeah, and his teammates want that, because like I have him in a team that's pretty much a hood team. You know what I mean? He's always around rich kids, down here. So it's like I needed him to learn some shit, and they love it because nobody from them speak English, so they egg him on. Little rich gringo getting in fights.
Standard issue. Here we go. A little cessation of one-time framing. That tick is pegged up here. Look, it's 12. Went up to like 1240 or something right there.
That C low though looks weak, but
look at this on the 1 minute. So like, yeah, the C low does look weak. I definitely agree with that. You see, kind of starts up here, comes down. So this is at 1020. So this is that C low right here. and then it comes back down, and this is where it pulled back and couldn't get back below this weak volume right here. That was at 48. That was at 1049. And now we're all the way back up. We're not breaking a new high though.
We're still below the settle.
Yeah, it's you wonder, like, I'm just gonna wait. And I almost took that long too, but I was like, I don't like that C low.
I'm calling it a day. You guys be good. See you guys tomorrow.
All right, I'll catch you tomorrow. Have a good day.
Yep.
Take it easy, bud.
Later.
You see all the trading that came through on that 55? 38.55.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw it when they popped it.
Yeah.
And then it came back down, tested it again, came back up. And there's a buy-in above it who came in. Around 56, they were buying.
It's weird, like, all this volume just comes in randomly. Like that. Oh. There's still that bid down on the 40 though. Where was this at? Oh, this is that 55, yeah. Yeah, so let's see if they give this one more test of this 55. If they don't get it below, so here's that 8, look at 813. Yeah, so let's watch this here. If it comes back down, watch the test of 55. We get a nice bounce that gets us above this D high. That's an opportunity, I think, to go with. We may get a little bit of selling at the settle, and then at the B high, but if we can break through that, we should trade to the 70. Now remember, the 70, even like 66 to 70 is where we assumed that the offer was going to be at. So we'll kind of, pay attention to where it's going to, where the offer is going to be at, like where we're going to want to take profit, basically, because there's going to be kind of two opportunities here. The first opportunity is going to be to sell into this B high, which isn't really, it's 60 to 62. So that's kind of the area where we just have to flatten the trade if it doesn't go. So if we get in here, we want to see this reaction off the 55. Get in 60. We're at 66, and this is 55. So that's 5. That's 8. 2. So basically, we can let's see how it acts still. So basically, if we get in here around the 60, if we get this pop back up at the B high, if the offer moves down, you've just got to flatten out. Don't try to sit through that. But if we don't see the offer there, then we start looking for the offer up here, and we're targeting 68.70 as the profit target. But if we can't get up there, then of course, flatten. I don't think that today's not a day where you want to sit through a rotation in the trade. The trade should either work or it's not going to work. You don't want to let it go a couple ticks in profit and then come back, or a couple points in profit and then come back. So they're popped through the 55. The offer's above now. The bids are stepping up here on the 50. Remember, the 48 level was kind of like that pullback out of the lower zone. We did just make a lower high, though, if you think about it. Lower high. All right. Here's a high. Here's a lower high. You temper expectations. And this is how you kind of like talk your way in and talk your way out of trades on whether or not you're going to actually execute on a trade, or whether you're just going to monitor for the setup. And really, this trade off of this D high is kind of canceled out at this point because we didn't get that strong reaction off the 55 that we were looking for, right? Because we wanted to see it come down. We wanted to see that bid still there, scare price back up. Boom, boom. There's our go with, because we're starting to see all of the things creeping up, right? But now we're seeing this break of trend here of the tick, right? The tick was making higher lows, broke through, back down to 0. So now we're back down into this range. So we can really just split the profile here, and you could trade your profile like here. So this is a liquidation. And then here's your profile right now. So we've got a poor low, excess on the high. D high is close to mechanical right near the settle. But we're rotating back down into value. So in order to see strength or buyers here, what we would like to see is we'd like to see this start to get filled in. That would give us confidence that the market's going to go higher. What that would look like is the tick to start doing a little bit more of this, right? Little accumulation on the tick, and then boom, buyers take up. So basically the pink means that it's making a lower low than the previous bar, and a green means it's making a higher low. That's it. So see how these are green, green, green. That means it was higher 3 times in a row. Pink, pink, pink. That means it's lower 3 times in a row. Then the next 5 minutes, it wasn't as low, and then it picked it up again. Yeah, so it's just an easy way to see if it's making a higher, lower, like a new low or a new high, basically. Instead of just like if they were all the same color, it's like some of these are pretty close. These are close. It's hard to tell. So there's an opportunity here as well. We're seeing a little bit of the market start to pick up. Weighted AD is getting lower here. So this is what I like to look for sometimes. If this D low comes down and is mechanical and holds this mechanical level and starts to go above that 50, there's that opportunity to head back up to the settle there. It didn't hold flushed because of this weak reference. So if you get a weak reference and then another weak reference, right? What's her Jen from Jim Dalton's thing, the lady that helps Jim Dalton, she calls it sequencing. And so it's something I look for every once in a while. I'm gonna fix that poor low now, damn. Look at that response on the tick there. Pretty decent response. Yeah, no problem, sure. There goes a break. So we're seeing that that big bid that was on the 40 flip here, which is kind of interesting. All right, Pop. Catch you later, man. So let's watch this 40 level. This could be. Look for a reoffer. If there's no reoffer on the 40, then this thing may pop back up and we continue balance. Now we've got excess on the low, a little bit of short covering happening down here. So watch the 40 here. Excuse me. What's going on right here? TOS lagged. Watch the 40, guys. This is what we're waiting for, the 40. So they failed right at the 40 again. So that offer's still sitting there. So if that offer moves on the second test here, because I don't see many bids until down to the 30. The book got pretty thin now. Down to, yeah, the 30 has like 238 on it. There's really nothing above. Stop losses are starting to stack. I think there's good opportunity for balance trade here, a version of mean trade here. All right, guys. Well, it's getting pretty slow. I do think there is some opportunity for this kind of reversion of mean trade. This 5,000 volume that's lower is kind of making me a little bit nervous. A lot of trading down there, but they may be a little bit stuck, which is why I'm thinking a little bit of a reversion of mean. There's probably offers still sitting up here in this area where that kind of D period really just started tanking from. We know that 40 level is going to be a key, so if they can't get anything going above the 40, that's going to be a flattened spot. But other than that, I mean, the downside is still kind of leading the direction. Everything is still kind of saying the downside. The tick is really starting to get a little bit more bearish now, and we're starting to kind of, break this slow or small kind of uptrend we had. And anything really below this 33 is going to increase the downside most likely. Yeah, other than that, hope you guys had a wonderful day. Thank you all for coming for the first day of the year. And I will see you guys in the Discord. Make sure that you are managing risk and sticking to your trade plan, and have a wonderful rest of your day.